Ooh, Austin Collins has won the die roll, so that is more bad news for Drake Sasser.
Look at that baby assassin. Look at that face. You know, he's smiling, but you can see the teeth glaring at Drake through the smile.
Oh, you're going to mulligan. I'm so sorry.
I'm chomping at the bit. Good games. I'm really upset that you did nothing in our match. But I'll take my prize money. Thank you.
Yeah, so the way that the pairings broke out, we did have the top 3 tables draw this round. And then, as we talked about, a ton of players at 33 points. This is table 5. There's 2 slots to go, so odds very good for the winner of this matchup.
Yeah, and they are basically the 4th slot playing for it, right? The 6 people have drawn in, and then there's basically 2 matches kind of playing for the supremacy when it comes to those last 2 slots. There's a lot of stuff being thrown out here for Austin Collins, though.
Yeah, he's going to have a strong start. Darksteel Citadel, Chromatic Star, Mox Opal, Ancient Stirrings.
Ancient Ziggurat, go!
That's less good.
That's your follow-up? That's the grand finale?
There's a pair of engineered explosives already in Austin Collins' hands, so if he has to get disruptive, he has that.
Yeah, I think as far as the human deck is concerned, there's a good chance that Drake actually meddling mages first on engineered explosives as a way to protect all of his hateful creatures. Make sure things like Freebooter stick around, Thalia Guardian of Thraben kind of gum up the works for as long as possible.
I believe Collins looking for a second land. You see him tap that Mox Opal while he still has Metacraft before he sacrifices a Chromatic Star, making green mana, now casting Ancient Stirrings with 1 green floating.
It's a heads-up play, and one that I myself might have made the mistake of missing.
He's played this Ironworks deck a lot, and he is a smart kid. Finds Basic Forest. Yeah, must have been the second land thing, because that is not one of the better ones.
Think he's one of those brain geniuses I always hear about?
I think usually when you hear that, it's in a sarcastic context, so I'm going to say no.
Oh, wow. I didn't even think about it like that.
Mind Stone is the play for Collins, so now he does have 4 mana online going into his next turn. So we go to Sasser. Second land, Cavernous Souls. That's got to be naming human, I would assume, and Thalia is the play.
Yeah, but interesting enough, Collins has multiple ramp effects here with Mind Stone and Mox Opal. Could play land number 3 and still cast Ironworks if he so chooses.
He'll start by tapping 2 mana. He's going to take advantage of the way that Thalia Guardian of Thraben works with engineered explosives. With Sunburst, it just checks the mana spent to cast, and additional costs are counted. So for 2 mana against a Thalia, you still get explosives on 2. Puts his Mind Stone in jeopardy, so he's going to go ahead and use that to draw a card right now.
Yeah, that's one of my least favorite interactions of all time.
I love that. It's so funny.
Well, that actually just shows what kind of person you are, Ryan.
I am not a good person.
Look, I'm usually the one on the end of hoping Thalia sticks around and is disruptive, and you're the one like, Thalia? Nuh-uh.
That's a
get out of
creature.
here.
Kill it.
It's dead.
Another Ancient Ziggurat for Sasser is Mantis Rider and an attack for 5. Collins down to 15. Notably missed on that 3rd land drop, though here is Darksteel Citadel now.
Yeah, and that is one of the better ones to draw on this spot, acting as an extra artifact potentially for Karkaline Ironworks in the future.
And he's going to cast Terrarian for 2. Just leave up that explosives through Sasser's turn. I like this play a lot.
Yeah, he's looking to EOT pop that explosives, knock out a potential 2-drop from Drake if he decides to deploy one. Chances are, though, that Drake has just has to attack for 3, maybe play something like a Reflector Mage to apply a little more pressure, but just hope that he doesn't die next turn. All of these disruptive cards from the human stacks usually cost 2 mana, so a really smart play by Austin.
Right, also just leaving that up until the end of turn means that there's not going to be a second Thalia played.
Right.
So really heads up by Collins. So we go back to Sasser. He'll play Horizon Canopy as the land for turn. Looks like he's tapping 2 mana. We'll see what that is.
Here's what he's doing. He's thinking about playing Thalia's Lieutenant, pumping both of the humans to get in a little more damage, but also incentivizing Austin to pop that engineering explosives a little early.
Decides against that. He's going to start with Noble Hierarch here.
Decides against it. I'm assuming he didn't have a follow-up Disruptive Bear to play. Looks like his hand is just a pair of mostly dead Reflector Mages and that Thalia's Lieutenant.
Yeah, so he'll exalt the Mantis Rider up to 4 and knock Collins to 11. Follow that up with the Reflector Mage, not doing really anything of consequence. Horizon Canopy will put him at 19, and Collins will sacrifice that explosive end step to take that Thalia off the battlefield. And we will find out if Collins has a combo turn here. I believe he has had the Ironworks in hand. Plenty of artifacts on the battlefield, 2 Darksteel Citadels. He's reaching for the mana.
Yeah, when you start reaching for the mana, it's never a good time if you're on the other side. The classic time thief strategy.
There's Kruk playing Ironworks. Sacrifices Opal Citadel, casts Scrap Trawler with 1 floating, and now he'll sacrifice his Terrarian, get 2 mana, get a Scrap Trawler trigger, get back that Mox Opal. Here's Iker Wellspring. He has Chromatic Star.
Yeah, this is the point you know you're dead. But this is playing for top 8. Drake, there's only 5 minutes into the match. Drake has to wait and see if there's that 1% or less chance that Austin actually bricks here, but it looks like he has the World's Fair. He missed so many land drops that he just has everything in hand already.
Yeah, you're playing for top 8, you don't want to concede, but this is really the equivalent of buying tickets to Mono's Hands of Fate. It's just going to be a boring, long movie as Collins goes back and forth with these artifacts.
I don't know what that is, and I'm glad I don't get the
reference. It is
reference.
Arguably the worst movie of all time. There's like not that much in competition against it as Collins is going to spin his tires a little bit more. There goes Iker Wellspring. Plenty of mana in the pool now. He's been doing some mock opal tricks. He's got blue, red, green, and 3 colorless floating. Chromatic Star coming back to hand off of that Iker Wellspring.
Yeah, he has multiple ways to sacrifice here to keep drawing cards. That Scrap Trawler is continuing various chains. Engineering explosives, he can return those and just bust up all these 3 cost creatures from the other side of things too, because he keeps floating mana in various ways.
Styling a little bit, actually just uses explosives to kill Noble Hierarch, just because he has been bound to do that.
Might as well.
Pyrite Spellbomb has now shown up.
Yeah, having to spend the mana to sacrifice that so you don't quite gain as much as you want. But a pretty good pickup here in Ironworks, number 2. He can use that to get back Iker Wellspring and continue that chain of events.
Yeah, it looks like now with his redraws, he has found a fair amount of land, so there is that second Ironworks, sacrifices that immediately to find Wellspring. That'll be 2 redraws.
Yeah, and he still has the ability to explosives for 3 if he really needs to. So, I mean, he's got basically everything at his disposal, and there is a chance that he bricks off and can't win this turn. But if you just take a look at his hand, he still has Chromatic Sphere and multiple Chromatic Stars. He just keeps getting more and more redraws, and that's exactly how this deck works. If he's ever able to find a Buried Ruin here, it keeps the chain going even longer. If he's ever able to find Inventor Sphere, the game ends on the spot.
Continues to go to work with these artifacts. There was a Pyrite Spellbomb, the Chromatic Star. Gets his Mox Opal back. Here's a Mind Stone. Gets back Terrarian, sacrificing that.
Yeah, Buried Ruin here can rebuy the Iker Wellspring. So he has more chain off here if he needs. But he still has a lot of iterations to go through. Drake here just hoping for the best, and I don't think it's going to come.
Chromatic Star cast and sacrifice for 2 mana. That gets back the Mox Opal again. He'll play that, get another mana. Now 2 green, a red, a blue, and 4 colorless floating after sacrificing that. Another Chromatic Star, which you can sacrifice to draw a card, get 2 mana, get back the Mox Opal, which he just did with his Terrarian there. There's another Iker Wellspring. Draw a card.
Yeah, there he is. There's a look of a man who's a little bit dead inside.
Yeah, why don't they sell popcorn at this showing?
You know, at this juncture, Austin is basically Drake's executioner. His due date's coming. Austin explaining that he has the axe. Drake Sasser's first life here under wraps.
Yeah, there's the second Scrap Trawler, and that locks things up. Austin Collins 1-0 with Ironworks over Sasser on humans. We're going to game 2 here. Sasser going to need a little bit of help out of the sideboard.
He's had enough.
Tapping out.
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much, I would have done it way earlier, but that's just because I have, like, some respect for my own time.
Yes.
You know? Drake Sasser ain't got nowhere to be.
You want to make sure you can go out into the frigid cold and
get some
get some
supper.
Unos.
Yeah. Dude, I love me some Unos. It's the best.
All right, so for Drake Sasser's sideboard, he has 2 Knight of Autumn, 2 Combo Console of Allocation, 2 Whirler Rogue, 2 Is It Staticaster, 2 Dismember, 2 Gaddock Teague, and 3 Auric Champions. Todd, what do you like?
Combo Console of Allocation, I think, is step 1. The card's very strong in the matchup. It also has a converted mana cost of 3, which dodges a lot of the Engineer Explosives draws that the Ironworks decks can do. They can do for X equals 2 pretty easily, but 3 starts to get a little trickier. Something like Dismember, any sort of spot removal like that, not really something you want here. Even though it can kill Scrap Trawler and kind of slow down the combo for a little bit, it's usually not enough to really get things going. But Gaddock Teague here is definitely a shoe-in. I think that Combo, Gaddock Teague, 100%. Knight of Autumn, I think Drake will be bringing in because he has some things that he's fine to side out. But a Disenchant, as we've seen time and time again, not even remotely close to good enough against this Ironworks combo deck.
For Austin Collins on Ironworks, the sideboard is 2 additional copies of Psy, Master Thopterist, a Swan Song, 2 Galvanic Blast, 4 Nature's Claim, a Fire Spout, 2 Negate, a Tormod's Crypts, and 2 Lightning Bolts. How reactive do you think he wants to be? What does he want?
He wants to be very reactive. This human deck, most of his disruption comes in the form of creatures. Cards like Galvanic Blast, Lightning Bolt, Fire Spout are going to be 100% coming in. And then I think the alternate game plan of Psy, Master Thopterist is perfectly set up for dominating this matchup. Not only can it buy you a lot of time to find your combo, but it can also just act as an alternate win condition that the humans deck has a pretty tough time dealing with. And I'm pretty certain that they're going to be boarding out all of the Reflector Mages because of how mediocre it is against everything except for Psy, Master Thopterist.
Yeah, that makes sense. This weekend we are out here for SCG Worcester. This is the second Open of 2019. We were in Columbus last weekend, and in 2 weeks we'll be coming to Indianapolis for a standard Open. That'll be week 1 of Ravnica Allegiance, January 26th and 27th. You won't want to miss that. Then February 2nd and 3rd, we're coming to Baltimore for a Team Constructed Ultimate. Team Constructed Open, Standard, Modern, Legacy. That's not Team Modern again, but still a very fun event. February 9th and 10th, it's Dallas for another Standard Open. And then in March 2nd and 3rd, after a little break, Syracuse for the Legacy Open. You won't want to miss that one. That's our Legacy Open of the season.
Oh, yeah.
March 9th, we've been talking about the regional championships. Those are going to be modern, 12 locations across the country. Another great tournament you won't want to miss. 16th and 17th of March, the week after that, in Philadelphia, we'll be hitting another modern Open.
Funny story. All the ones we just looked at, I think I'm going to be there at every one of them. But I'm either going to be playing or commentating, and I'm not sure which because everything is a blur.
I got my tickets booked, but I don't know why I'm going. March 23rd and 24th, Cincinnati will be coming to for another Team Constructed Open. Again, Standard, Modern, Legacy. April 6th and 7th, we'll be coming to Cleveland, back in Ohio, for an individual Modern Open, much like this weekend. May 4th and 5th, Richmond for Standard once again. And then May 18th and 19th, we'll come back to Syracuse for another Standard Open. And then the last Open of the season will be May 25th and 26th in Louisville. That's for a Modern Open before the season culminates at SCGCon Summer for the Season 1 Invitational, June 7th to 9th.
Yeah, we're going to be giving a lot of those envelopes out at SCGCon Summer for the Players' Championship. Top players on the leaderboard as well as the Invitational Champion, all scoring that invite.
Ton of opportunities to get out and qualify for that Invitational. SCGCon is always such a fun event. I've loved the ones that we had last year.
Yeah, they were very fun except for all the snow on the second one. That one was rough.
Made for a good story.
It did make for a good story. I almost died. That's the end of the story.
That's the whole thing.
As
we are underway in Game 2. Sasser led on Horizon Canopy into Champion of the Parish. Collins on Buried Ruin into Terrarian as Sasser's second turn is Seachrome Coast into Thalia. Champion bumps up to 2. Sasser took 2 points off of his Horizon Canopy and connected for 2 against Collins. Everyone's at 18. For the second turn, Collins is going to pay 1 for Mox Opal. No second land as we go back to Sasser.
Yeah, this is an ideal start from Sasser. The Thalia Garneth Raven is very disruptive in the development of the Ironworks deck. The Mox Opal might have been Austin Collins' only source of green, for example, and now he can't cast something like Ancient Stirrings because of it. So it's interesting to see how disruptive this Thalia Garneth Raven is going to be alongside this early pressure from the Champion of the Parish.
Island for Sasser. There's Thalia's Lieutenant. That'll pump the Champion of the Parish twice. The Thalia once. A 4-4 and a 3-2 come across. That should knock Collins down to 11 as we go back Collins' way. And he has found a second land. There is a Buried Ruin. can play a little bit more now, but he is under a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and he has an injured explosives in hand, but doesn't have the colored mana to really get much done with it because that Mox Opal doesn't currently tap for mana.
Yeah.
This Thalia really putting a strangle on his early development. And this is how the Humans deck beats Ironworks. This is how they beat most combo decks. This early pressure with Champion of the Parish really forcing Austin to struggle quite a bit. And now Austin's going to play like basically a desperation, zero-cost Engineered Explosives just so he can cast Lightning Bolt on that Thalia.
Yeah, so he played Buried Ruin as a second land and then pays that one colorless for explosives on 0, Mox Opal online. It does not look good.
No, it does not.
We'll see what Sasser can add to the battlefield before combat. If he's even interested in much more, he already has a 2-turn clock here. Though you got to feel out a Lightning Bolt from that explosives on 0.
Yeah, that Explodes on 0 doesn't make any sense other than it turns on Mox Opal. And Galvanic Blast, Lightning Bolt, these are the only 2 cards that Drake really has to concern himself with in this particular spot. I would be looking to apply as much pressure as possible. I would go for something like another Thala's Lieutenant. Maybe if you have a Mana Strider, deploy that. And just go for as much damage here as you can. The only downside is that if this doesn't work out, something like Fire Spout on the swing back could clear out your side of the battlefield. But for the most part, that Champion of the Parish is too big for that to happen.
Cavern of Souls on Human, and there is Thalia's Lieutenant. That's going to pump the other Lieutenant up to a 3, grow the Thalia to a 4, and the Champions up to a 6. Here's Lightning Bolt for Collins. That's going to target Thalia, free up some mana on his following turn, though an attack still coming in for 9.
Yeah, and actually he had to cast that Lightning Bolt mid-combat because it threatened lethal. So if Drake had a redundant copy of Thalia, Garden of Thraben here, that could come down post-combat. Unfortunately, doesn't have it, but I don't know if Austin has enough time to get his combo going right now because he needs it in a hurry.
I got to figure if you're keeping a one-lander, your holdings are pretty nice, though he does need a huge turn here, starting with 3 mana.
Yeah, I don't think he has currently access to another land. He's going to float a mana here off this Mox Opal, probably sacrifice the Terrarian, float some mana, draw a card, then go for like Psymaster Thopters and hope he can play a couple of artifacts to get something going. If it's defense, that's fine.
Yeah, so floated green there. There is the Sacrifices Terrarian, again, wisely using the Mox Opal before he knocks himself off Metalcraft. He'll float blue and red in addition to that green mana. Draws Grove of the Burn Willows, so he'll have 4 now if he wants it.
Yeah, and I think he's able to play the Psymaster Thopters, but I don't think he can play more than 1 artifact. And if Drake has any human, it actually threatens lethal.
So going to use Ancient Stirrings here instead of playing that land, so it's going to be difficult to make an Ironworks this turn. You'd need more Mox Opals to do that.
Yeah, I think Austin just looking at these 5, knows he's dead. He's going to scoop him up and try to win game 3.
And that is exactly what happens. It's going to be going to a decider here between Drake Sasser and Austin Collins.
Yeah, the real pinpoint in this matchup is mana. If the Humans deck has a lot of cheap stuff early on, disruptive things like Thalia, Garden of Thraben, the Ironworks deck has a really tough time accelerating, has a tough time actually developing all these artifacts necessary to combo kill you on the 3rd or 4th turn. They also usually side out Mindstone, so something like Thalia, Garden of Thraben can be a little more detrimental to your overarching game plan.
Yeah, and you saw there, curious to see exactly what the hand was for Collins. Keeping a one-lander against a deck with Thalia, definitely a little bit dicey, though he will get to be on the play for Game 3. Of course, we are broadcasting this live here on Twitch.tv. We'd like to thank you all for joining us. And remember, we are coming up on the top 8 for our tournament this weekend, and we do quarterfinal votings for our subscribers. Please subscribe today if you want to have a say in who's going to be playing in the top 8. You also get custom emoticons and a badge. It's only $4.99 a month. Join the feature match area.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Twitch. I'm actually a Twitch partner myself, streaming on my channel over at twitch.tv/strong_sad. Whenever I have free time at home, I usually like to pop on, play some Arena, play some Modern on Magic Online. It's a good time. Twitch is a great program, and obviously you know about it because you're watching it here.
Yes. Twitch.tv/SCGWOR. You're already glued to it. We're here.
Smash that sub button! Smash it!
Smash it. Also joining us Tuesday and Thursday for Versus Live. You can watch Todd Anderson beat up Ross Merriam.
Yeah, that Versus Live is something else, man. Interacting with chat in real time while we're playing changes the entire experience for not only just me and Ross and the players that we have on the broadcast, but for the viewers at home. We take questions. Our director or someone in the booth will ask them to the people playing the matches, whether that's about new cards, whether that's about how your deck works. Any question you might have, you're more than welcome to ask, and if the director deems it to be one of the top questions for the day, it goes up. And, we like to answer them. They're fun.
Most definitely. That's 1 p.m. Eastern Time every Tuesday and Thursday. We are back underway here for our deciding Game 3. Austin Collins on the play. Grove of the Burnwillows Terrarian is where he's going to start. See if Sasser does have a fast one. Ancient Ziggurat. There's Champion of the Parish, so on the beatdown kind of draw.
Yeah, I think Champion of the Parish is a better start here in this particular matchup than something like Aether Vial or Noble Hierarch. On turn 2, you're usually attacking for at least 2, and that pressure backed with usually like a 2-drop disruptive creature, whether that's Meddling Mage or what have you, usually means your opponent's under a clock and you have some way to interact with them.
And this is interesting. Collins will play Forest and then sacrifice that Terrarian, making a green and a red mana. These are colors of mana he already could have had from the lands that he has, as he starts with Ancient Stirrings here, finding Scrap Trawler. Maybe just needs the hand to shape up and really needed that redraw. Terrarian is going to be the cast off of that red that he had floating.
Yeah, if you don't already have an Ironworks, it's fairly common for these Ironworks decks to go ahead and crack these artifacts early to keep digging through your strategy. That's what makes them so powerful, is that they are also insanely consistent when it comes to assembling their combo, because so many of these cards in the early turns cycle while also being a part of the overall engine.
Second land for Sasser is Unclaimed Territory on human. Here's Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, Champion up to a 2, Collins down to 18.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see a main phase Lightning Bolt followed by a 1-mana artifact here, but if Austin doesn't have a 1-mana artifact, he's probably just going to wait till EOT, Bolt, untap, and then do some cool stuff.
Does have lands this game, as he played Darksteel Citadel and passed back to Sasser.
If Sasser plays a creature pre-combat, he's going to lose out on at least 2 points of damage here from this Thalia, though he may regain that by pumping the Champion of the Parish. Austin wants to wait basically until combat is until there's no chance of a follow-up Thalia before he uses that Lightning Bolt.
Cavern of Souls is a third land for Sasser. I believe that'll also be on human. Meddling Mage towards the front of the hand. Without another 1-mana play, that can sometimes be tough.
Yeah, this is a spot where this is the reason why the Ironworks decks actually play a 2-2 split of Galvanic Blast and Lightning Bolt, because something like Meddling Mage here could come down. If Austin was tapped out, he could cast Meddling Mage, right? And then if the Ironworks player wants to cast the Lightning Bolt, they have to do it then, or else it's going to get locked in their hand. But if he does cast the Lightning Bolt and kills the Thalia in response, then Meddling Mage is free to name something like Engineer Explosives or Crackling Ironworks if you're afraid of dying to the combo on the following turn.
Sasser lands on using all of his mana. He's going to cast Combo Console of Allocation pre-combat. That's going to grow the Champion of the Parish, and Collins actually decides to Lightning Bolt that one. It's a pretty serious problem for his deck. That'll trigger. Sasser will go to 22. Collins will fall to 16 as these 2 creatures are attacking for 5. That should knock Collins down to 11.
Yeah, this is a lot of damage coming through. That combo Console of Validation acts a lot like an Eidolon of the Great Revel, but for the humans deck, it is a human, which is really important for pumping things like Champion of the Parish. And in some matchups like Burn, you could actually bring in combo because it's one-sided, and you gain 2 life for every time it triggers.
Fourth land for Collins is another Darksteel Citadel. The play for the turn is Scrap Trawler. We'll go back Sasser's way.
Yeah, that one not super threatening at the moment. More so looking to jump block, I think, and get back something like a Terrarion to recast, as well as just stifle a bit of the damage. Looks like Austin hasn't quite found that Crackling Ironworks yet. It's also possible that Austin's just using his mana efficiently, casting the Scrap Trawler, because that Thalia is keeping him from playing that 5th mana to play that Ironworks.
And Collins had to churn through these Terrarians as well, so even if he could get Ironworks online, he's not working with too much material and still is facing down that Thalia. Sasser's going to start his turn with a Noble Hierarch. That'll pump the champion up to a 4/4. Tapping 2 mana, maybe thinking about that Meddling Mage pre-combat.
Yeah, this Meddling Mage pre-combat makes a lot of sense. You get to pump the champion of the parish. That incentivizes a block from the Scrap Trawler, which ultimately, if Austin goes for a combo turn, will make it a little harder for him to combo out. Needs to find another copy of Scrap Trawler.
So here is Meddling Mage. That'll grow the champion to a 5/5.
I'm not that good at reading lips, but that man just said Karkline Ironworks.
Yeah.
We don't need the table spotter for that one.
Right. Pretty good name. Champion of the Parish, Thalia, come across the table. That's going to be a hit for 7. That should knock Collins down to 4 as we go back to Collins' turn. Has a Buried Rune towards the front of the hand. He'll play that. Now has 5 mana. There's a Pyrite Spellbomb in the hand that could deal with the Thalia or the Meddling Mage, though he's starting to get into a little bit of a squeeze as there are 2 disruptive creatures.
Yeah, this is getting pretty dicey for Austin Collins here. He's going to set up a little bit of defense. He's going to use this Pyre Spellbomb to take care of that Meddling Mage, and then he's going to go into basically double chump block mode, but the double chump block allows him to get back actually both the Mirror Retriever and the Scrap Trawler. So next turn he can cast Karkline Ironworks for 5, and then go sacrifice the Darksteel Citadels and try to start that chain off. It's going to be pretty difficult through the Thalia Guardian Thraben, but if any deck can do it in Modern, it's the Ironworks combo deck.
Yeah, play for that turn was 2 mana for a Pyrite Spellbomb. Mirror Retriever leaves up Spellbomb activation with Grove of the Burnwillows. We're back on Sasser's side, see what he wants to do pre-combat. As you mentioned, the Scrap Trawler, the Mirror Retriever, they're awkward creatures to attack into, so Sasser's going to try to come up with a plan here.
Yeah, you don't actually gain any ground if they both go to the graveyard. Obviously, Austin has to recast them, and the mana might actually end up being the choke point here. Austin actually doesn't have to block the Thalia just yet, though, because it only represents 2 points of damage. So I'm curious to see the sequence that Drake comes up with here to maximize his chances of stopping this Ironworks from comboing off next turn.
Yeah, on the table, you see the Pyrite Spellbomb that's threatening either the Thalia or the Meddling Mage. I suppose Meddling Mage and Ironworks, that has to be solved for Collins to win, right?
Absolutely. Thalia's Lieutenant pre-combat here is actually going to force the Pyre Spellbomb on the Meddling Mage now, but it looks like Drake Sasser has other plans.
Yeah, he's just going to go right into combat. Here comes Meddling Mage, 5/5 champion, and Thalia. That is the attack. See how Collins wants to block if he wants to use this Pyrite Spellbomb before damage.
Huh.
Only 2 cards in hand for Collins, though both the Mirror Retriever and the Scrap Trawler do represent more. A couple Terrarians in the graveyard. From 4, he has to do something about 2 of these creatures.
Yeah, I think this is really tough. Both these creatures are integral to actually getting the job done, and the fact that Drake played no creature pre-combat means there's a good chance there's another Hate Bear coming down post-combat. With 4 mana, potentially 5 if he plays a land, he could do something as dirty as playing a second combo plus another Meddling Mage, or a follow-up Thalia if that's the one that gets hit either in combat or with the Pyre Spellbomb.
Yeah. Definitely a lot to think about for Austin Collins, as there's just 2 prison elements on the table, the Thalia, the Meddling Mage, that are already really hard to combo through, and as you just said, the potential for redundant copies of either one of them.
Yeah, Austin here looks like he's thinking about blocking the champion and then trading with the Meddling Mage. That'll give him both of his creatures back. He still has the option to Pyre Spellbomb, mid-combat. He can do it in his turn. If the Thalia dies mid-combat, that means any drawn Thalia is going to be equally as oppressive, though, on his mana.
Yeah, so it looks like he has decided on Trawler in front of Meddling Mage, Mirror Retriever in front of Champion. Thalia is going to come in for 2 first strike, Collins down to 2. Bunch of artifacts hitting the graveyard. Collins is going to use Mirror Retriever to get that Trawler back, and
then the
Trawler to get Retriever back, and then Terrarian back to hand.
Yeah, it's a disgusting chain that, honestly, I don't think it should exist. But who am I? Who am I? All right, so it looks like there's a a Meddling Mage #2 from Drake Sasser, which he can deploy, and then Austin basically has to choose between killing that Meddling Mage or killing the Thalia Guardian of Thraben. And I don't know if he has enough mana really to beat both of them.
Sasser's going to write down all those cards he just saw Collins pick up. It is a high-pressure match. You want to make sure you don't fumble on something as basic as that. He does have Meddling Mage at the front of the hand. That is one of the options. There's a Thalia's Lieutenant as well. Probably wants to ramp up the disruption, right?
I think so. I think at this point you just need to try to cover as many bases as possible. I think there is a route for Austin to win. I think it involves naturally drawing a Darksteel Citadel.
There's Meddling Mage. It'll pump the champion to a 6. Name's Quark Clan Ironworks. And here's Thalia's Lieutenant, so if Collins wants to spellbomb the Meddling Mage, he'll have to do that now.
Yeah, I think that this is certainly a fine follow-up to that attack. You know, the Thalia getting through or the Meddling Mage getting through, even with the +1/+1 counter from the Thalia's Lieutenant, didn't represent lethal. The champion of the pairs had to be blocked. This is a fine sequence from Drake trying to put as much disruption on the table as possible to make sure that Austin can't win next turn, but I'm not sure if Austin can do it.
Collins will use that Grove for red. Sasser to 23. Pyrite Spellbomb knocks that Meddling Mage off as the Thalia's Lieutenant grows the rest of Sasser's team. Champion of the Parish up to an 8. Thalia to a 3-2, and the Noble Hierarch now to a 1-2.
And now all those artifacts are stuck in Austin's hand, and he has to recast them. And that was the beauty of the attack from Drake Sasser last turn. Being in hand versus being in play means that he has to expend a lot of mana, which usually means sacrificing a lot of artifacts, including those Darksteel Citadels that he has. And without a land drop to play here, he has to spend 5 for the Ironworks. He can sack both the Darksteel Citadels, and I don't know if that's enough.
And there's Buried Rune, now starting from 6 mana. Here's a tap of 5. Cast that Ironworks that he freed up when he killed the Meddling Mage.
So he has access to 5 mana. He can sack Darksteel Citadel for 2. He can spend 1 more mana from either Grove or sacrificing the Citadel. He's not actually gaining mana anymore off of these Terrarions and things like that. He's breaking even, and he desperately needs to find a 0 mana artifact to go along with this Scrap Trawler to be able to generate extra mana over time.
Yeah, cast a 2 mana Terrarion, sacrifice that right away. Picked up another land. That does not play on this turn. He already made his land drop. 2 mana floating. We know about Scrap Trawler and Mirror Retriever in hand. Still has a Darksteel Citadel he could sacrifice, and if he got really desperate, he could sacrifice the Ironworks itself. But that's just treading water.
Exactly, and that's the problem here. He can play Scrap Trawler, and then basically everything at that point just breaks even. He doesn't have a 0 mana artifact to go along with the Scrap Trawler and these 1 mana artifacts. He has the Mirror Retriever, and he has the Scrap Trawler, but he doesn't have like the way to generate the extra mana, and that Thalia is going to play a huge role here in containing the mana generation ability of the Ironworks deck.
And Sasser did have to throw a lot out there. We saw combo, multiple Meddling Mages and Thalia, but the combination of all of that is looking like it might have come to be too much for Collins. He'll sacrifice the other Citadel.
You say that, and then, you know, Austin's just going to find a way to win.
Right.
And I just haven't seen it.
Oh, wait, I discovered another loop.
Yeah, it turns out I can play Scrap Trawler, play Mirror Retriever, go to 0, sacrifice Mirror Retriever, and I get back an artifact with the Retriever ability and the Scrap Trawler ability, gain 2 mana, cast a Terrarion, sack it, stay at 2 mana, find Mox Opal, spend 1, gain 3, and then you're dead! And then we figured it out!
Yeah, honestly, if he had a Mox Opal, this might just be a very different situation, right?
Yeah, I mean, Thalia strangles mana generation, but the Ironworks deck's able to produce so much with its chain that includes Mox Opal that it's usually too much. But honestly, I just want to see if Austin can figure something out because I have yet to do it.
Collins definitely a very capable player. We've seen him put up a lot of wins with this Ironworks deck, but his back is against the wall in this tournament, and this game looks to be out of reach.
Yeah, this is his whole tournament right here. If he wins, he moves on to the elimination rounds more than likely. Drake Sasser wins, same deal. These guys are playing for a lot of money here. This is a big turn.
And a lot of SCG points. Both of these players definitely on the hunt for the Players' Championship invite.
Oh, absolutely. And if one of them misses at the end of the year, they're going to look back on this game this moment.
And never hear the end of it.
Yeah, they are teammates, and I'm sure they are going to dog each other after this one.
Yeah, so there's Mirror Retriever and Scrap Trawler. Mirror Retriever sacrifice for 2 mana, triggers Scrap Trawler and Mirror Retriever, Pyrite Spellbomb, and Terrarian being pulled to the front of the graveyard, though Austin reconsiders 2 Terrarians coming back. Spend 2 mana on the first one, sacrifice that for 2 mana, get back Darksteel Citadel off the Scrap Trawler. 2 mana floating, use that on the other Terrarian, break even again, get back the other Citadel. Draw off that. It's a Chromatic Sphere. And a Chromatic Star, again, break even on that to redraw. And he seems to have come to the end of the line.
Yeah, he really needed to find Mox Opal in one of those first 2 draws to start generating colored mana to maybe cast something like Ancient Stirrings, but also just generate an extra mana over time. And it looks like he didn't find it, and that Scrap Trawler just ran out of steam.
And Collins ran out of gas. He knows it. He's going to concede here. Drake Sasser, 2-1 the winner. Humans over Ironworks. Sasser advances to 12-3. Austin Collins will fall to 11-4. We know for sure we won't see Collins in the elimination round. Sasser very much live for one of those 2 open spots.